Another part, which is more on the practical side, and this kind of, I think, gives a lot of folks, at least I've seen this in our own community, is 2 years ago the community went ahead and wrote up their advanced medical directives so that we were very specific about how we wanted, as we became less and less capable of making decisions for ourselves, that we would choose somebody who would be able to hold our wishes. We wanted to make sure that our doctors knew as far as hydration and the level of pain management and do not resuscitate, to have that written up very clearly on what your wishes are, and to have that your doctor have access to that, and the important people in your life to have access to that. And then you can kind of just let that go and not have to be worrying about that when you're trying to process this. When people are trying to die, that's one of the things you don't want them to have to be afraid and be concerned about, is that they've taken care of that when they still have the capacity to do that. Wills and things like that. If they, Venerable said on this one, is that if they're in the hospital, and if the hospital is open, and this is for Buddhist practitioners who are dying, if the hospital is open to it, is to request that they let the body be, let it be alone for a few hours, for as ever long as possible. And if the hospital has a policy that can't fulfill that wish, is to make sure that the person who's dying gets to return to home at the end. If they're in hospice, then of course that's very much taken care of. They can, the family can honor that. But from the Buddhist worldview, once a person dies, there are a lot of the subtle mind is still at times still in the body, although the heart is stopped and the breathing has stopped. There's a very subtle consciousness that's still in the body of the person, and we don't want to be jarring them and moving them around and wrapping them up and transporting them when they're still, present in a very subtle way. So we want to make sure that folks can, that the minds can gently transfer and move on, rather than getting jarred out of the body very suddenly. It's very important for us to clean up our relationships to those of people in our lives that are dying, to know that we care about them, and to make sure, that we apologize or share our concerns and our well wishes, and to have any regrets that we have, just to share whatever loose ends that we have in our lives in relationship to them, and to encourage them and others in their lives to make peace as best as they can. And this is a big stretch for a lot of families, because there's been hurt feelings and hard families in many of our families that have run through decades. And so when a person is dying, that's an opportunity to make peace, as much as the people are willing to do that. And then, the person we have to meet them where they are, to talk in the language. Some of our friends and family aren't Buddhists, they're, Christians and Jews and, Muslims, and how to speak their language and be with them in a way that will make them feel like they're supported, and to let go of any of our agendas on what we think they might need or what we want to say, is to really let them guide us on what it is that they need, as far as religion, principles, rituals, and such. And then the other thing that Venerable has always been very adamant about is that through the dying process, and we had that happen here with the Chala, is that you really want to have the environment very quiet. If there are people who are experiencing the passing of this loved one or having a very difficult time, that the consoling and the grieving is done outside the room. Because what happens is, if there's a lot of sorrow and loud crying and wishing you wouldn't go, the person who's dying is going to hold on even more to this life, because they feel badly. They feel somehow responsible and incapable of letting go. So during the dying process, the people who are with the person, it's ready to go, let go. We're all going to be fine. We're all going to take care of each other. You've done a wonderful job. We've really loved having you in our life. It's okay to let go. Don't worry about us. We're all going to take care of each other. It's really fine. But to really be sensitive, because from what I've heard, once again, this is very, very little experience, is that it seems like when people are dying, the energies get more and more subtle, and although the senses are starting to withdraw, the energy in the room has a very strong effect on people. And so when Achi was dying, we had a silent retreat here, and there were 35 people here, but sometimes you could hear a pin drop in here. And as a result, Achi really felt that he was being held, I think, in a really gentle way. He wasn't hearing a lot of loud crashing and banging and talking and slamming and stuff. So he was able to really go through his death process with a lot of quiet. And then, oh, there's so many things to honor and respect the person. So I just wanted to cover up to the process, through the dying process. And if I have time in the next few days, I can share some of Venerable's wise suggestions on after the person dies, on how to continue to support them. You know, death is the transitioning of mind streams of sentient beings. It's not the end of mind streams of sentient beings. So there's a lot that we can do after the breathing has stopped, after the heart has stopped, and then the whole process of how to take care of them from there. So I will hopefully be able to share that in the near future. Hope this helps.